CNN spoke to a nurse on the front lines of the pandemic in South Dakota, and what she says is really mind-boggling.
The worst place in the country for coronavirus this morning is South Dakota. It's experiencing record cases, deaths, and hospital levels. The positivity rate there is the highest in the nation at almost 60%. The state has taken a hands-off approach to public health protocols recommended by the CDC. Back in July, President Trump hosted an Independence Day celebration, as you can see on your screen. This was in a packed amphitheater at Mount Rushmore. A month later, nearly 500,000 bikers flooded into the town of Sturgis for an annual motorcycle rally. South Dakota's Republican Governor, Kristi Noem, supported both events and refuses to issue public safety directives, such as wearing masks. Here's what she said a couple of weeks ago at a Trump rally.
The only reason you know who I am today is because the liberals have been busy kicking me in the head for all the decisions I've made for my people in South Dakota. But let me tell you, my people are happy. They're happy because they're free.
We invited Governor Noem to join us this morning, but she declined. But here to describe what she's seeing on the front lines in South Dakota is Jody Doring. She's a registered nurse who has called the coronavirus crisis in her state, quote, a horror movie that never ends. Nurse Doring, thank you so much for being here. When I read some of your tweets, my jaw dropped. You said that even now that the hospital is being overrun with COVID patients, they come in, they're horribly ill, they're gasping for breath, and yet they don't believe they have COVID?
Yeah, I think the hardest thing to watch is that people are still looking for something else and they want a magic answer and they don't want to believe that COVID is real. And the reason I tweeted what I did is it wasn't one particular patient, it's just a culmination of so many people. And their last dying words are, this can't be happening, it's not real. And when they should be spending time FaceTiming their families, they're filled with anger and hatred, and it just made me really sad the other night. And I just can't believe that those are going to be their last thoughts and words.
Anger and hatred towards you?
I think it's just a belief that it's not real, and nursing happens to be on the receiving end of that. And that's okay. We can take that. That's what you're there for. It's just in the bigger picture when you try to reason with people of, can I call your family, your kids, your wife, your friend, your brother? And they say no, because I'm going to be fine. And you're watching their oxygen levels, maxed out on what we call vapotherm at 100%, and their oxygen level might be 75. That's not really that compatible with life. And we know where that's going to head. And it just makes you sad and mad and frustrated. And then you know that you're just going to come back and do it all over again. And that's kind of where that stemmed from.
How could it not make your own head explode? They're gasping for breath. Their oxygen levels are dropping. What do they think is wrong with them?
I think people look for anything. People want it to be influenza. They want it to be pneumonia. They want it to be, we've even had people say, well, I think maybe it might be lung cancer. Something so far-fetched. And the reality is, since day one, when COVID started in this area in March, you've kind of been able to say, if it walks like a duck and talks like a duck, it's a duck.
She goes on to say she lives in a town with about 360 people, and in her hospital, there are more than 360 people who've died from COVID. This shows you the power of propaganda. Propaganda could be the most potent force and influence on the way people think. If you're told something and that thing is not true, but you're told it over and over and over and over and over again, and then everybody around you starts parroting it, at some point, it really does become the duh position. And the duh position to these people in North Dakota who are passing away from COVID is that it's obviously not real. They had to have been hearing a lot of misinformation and a lot of propaganda about how, whatever, it's a liberal hoax. And like Ted Cruz said, The second Biden is winner, and the second he takes office, wow, it's going to disappear all of a sudden. It's worse now than ever before. Biden won the election, and it's worse now than ever before, COVID. So they've heard this. They're in their little bubble, probably Facebook too. I mean, listen, I'm not at all in favor of censorship, and I vehemently argued against censorship. But that doesn't mean that there isn't a giant misinformation problem. Of course there is. And there are people in their own little right-wing Facebook bubbles where they really believe, like, no, COVID is fake. It's not even real. And then that really hit me, man, that she says as they're dying in front of you. They're taking their last breaths, and they're saying, no, I'm not going to call my family because I'm going to be okay because this isn't real. They're telling her, I think I have lung cancer, I think I have influenza, and it's not, or pneumonia. They think it's not COVID. Oh, man. Oh, Jesus Christ, that hurts, man. There's so many things about how we've responded to this pandemic that have left me flabbergasted, and it really says quite a bit about how our society functions versus other countries. There is more of a sense of shared community and responsibility in other countries. Here, after a certain amount of time, it's like we tolerated lockdowns for a certain amount of time, and then people just went full Wild West cowboy mode and freedom mode and said, yeah, I'm kind of done with this. And then now, people aren't being as careful as they should be, and we're seeing a giant spike. I mean, listen, at the very least, man, you need universal masks. At the very least, you need universal masks. Like, I get it. I feel just like everybody else in America feels. I'm as American as it gets. After a while with the lockdowns, you felt like, come on, I want this to end. But the threat is still real as a heart attack. And so if we're going to try to get back to some semblance of normalcy, at the same time, you need to pair that with safety measures like universal masks. And also, by the way, the other thing is something to cover your eyes, too, like glasses, whatever it may be, because virus can get in your eyes. I feel like that's not talked about nearly enough. So you see some people with like face shields and stuff. Everybody out in public who's wearing a mask should also be wearing like sunglasses or something, or regular glasses or goggles, whatever it may be. But yeah, this is heartbreaking. It's just so heartbreaking. As people are dying, the propaganda is still the thing that's winning out in their mind. Fuck. Jesus. I'm scared to see just how high these numbers get. I got to tell you guys. I can't imagine we get out of this with fewer than 500,000 people dead. We might have over 1 million Americans dead when all's said and done from this pandemic. That's more than any war in our history. Think about that. Think about that. So really, we should be mobilizing in a way like it's a war. Everybody should be wearing face masks. Everybody should be covering their eyes. Everybody should be trying to social distance as much as possible. And we should absolutely be going, full speed ahead with the medicines to distribute them all over the country, the medicines that we know work. And now with the vaccines, there's 2 promising vaccines. Hopefully they can get them out there quickly because stories like this break my heart. I really can't believe it. And you could tell she's shaken by it. Seeing people die on a daily basis, and as they die, they're denying that COVID-19 is even real. Propaganda is deadly in many instances.